Okay, so you've just read our article on social features about SkyDrive, and that gave you a precursor to what this video is going to be about. SkyDrive is an online file storage and sharing format, and there's a couple of different versions of it, and it's a little bit confusing. I'm going to go over them right now, like I did in the article. SkyDrive is a service offered by Windows Live that lets anyone with a Hotmail, MSN, Windows Live, and that those kinds of accounts through Microsoft have up to 7 gigs of free storage. So that's a public service. SharePoint also has a link called SkyDrive, and it's another type of SkyDrive, but it's more of a private SkyDrive, if that makes any sense at all. Um, and that lets you basically upload files from your computer and store them privately and not have them up on the Windows Live cloud. These are going to go into, if you have Office 365 as your SharePoint deployment, then they're going to go to your Office 365 server in your own private cloud, so to speak. And then if you have on premises, they'll be stored in your company's servers. And if you configure it a certain way, you will be able to access your SkyDrive from an external um, access point. So if you're at a hotel, you can go to your website and go to your SkyDrive if it's configured correctly. And setting that up is beyond the scope of this, and it's something your IT department will do. But that's the SharePoint version of SkyDrive. Same name, different function, different system. Now the other thing is SkyDrive Pro. And what SkyDrive Pro is it's not another version of SkyDrive. It's a program that syncs what's on your SkyDrive to your computer. So if I'm on my SkyDrive or really any document library, I can click on the sync button. And you see that pop up says create a synchronized copy of this document library on your computer. You can click that and this window comes up, sync this library to your device for easy access. You can click sync now, and would you like to allow it to open an app? We'll click allow, and it's not going to work. So what you'll want to do is go to get the SkyDrive Pro app that's right for me, and how to install the SkyDrive Pro Sync client. So that's SkyDrive Pro. Now we won't go into installing and everything else. It's pretty simple, and you can just follow the directions there. But that's how you can sync your files. So then instead of having to go to your SkyDrive, you can just click on the folder, and SkyDrive Pro will appear over here in your favorites, and you can just open it like you would any other library. Okay. So those are the 3 different versions of it. You can see why we kind of need to make that distinction, because you start throwing these terms around, you need to specify. So let's get into the nitty gritty of what SkyDrive Pro lets you do. Because it's a document management system, I'm going to open up a folder here with some files, and I've already got this tracks picture here, so I'm actually going to delete it, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to upload a file to SkyDrive. Here's my tracks picture. We can see that's up here on my screen. There you go, right? Now, if I can do this without destroying my workstation, we'll just drag that over into the document library and drop it, and you'll see it'll upload it, and there it is. It's on my SkyDrive. So if I went to another machine, I could open that tracks file, picture of the railroad tracks. Pretty cool. Well, what you can also do is, like I said before when we went over the layout of SharePoint, there's the more dots. These more dots are here. You just saw me do that before. If you click on that, it'll actually open a preview of it. And we saw some of that in the search results. You'll see a preview for documents and that kind of thing. But that lets you view more options. And the ones right off the bat is edit, share, follow, like we talked about in the newsfeed, and we'll talk about some more on following content lesson. And you've got another more button that lets you view the properties, edit the properties, check the file out, like we talked about in the library walkthrough. You can look at the history of versions on it. So if it's a Word document, you can view the history of how that document has changed. You can actually trigger workflows on the document. You can download a copy. So I could download it and save it to my machine into a folder. And then you can also share it or see who it's shared with and delete the file, which you just saw me do. So that's what the More button does, and that gives you operations on the file itself. Under the sharing column here, you'll see a lock, and when you hover over it says only shared with you. If I look at curriculum, it says shared with some people. If I look at this folder that says shared with everyone, and we look, everyone except external users can view what is in that library. And if I wanted to send this over to Charles, I would just copy that link, and then I'd send Charles a new email, and I'd paste the link in the email. So I'm creating an email. I'll send one to Charles Nassio, who's my buddy who works with me on this. I'll say link, and I'll paste that link in, and then he can click on that. And as long as he's logged into SharePoint, he can view that folder in my SkyDrive, but only that folder, unless he has access to other folders. So shared with everyone, curriculum is actually shared with Charles as well. So he can go in there and he can edit it. So you can determine not only who can access it. I can put Charles in here. There's only 2 of us on this site, so it's kind of hard to do a bunch of examples. But then I can choose the permission level I want to give him, and I can choose to send him an email invitation or not. So that's how the share function works. So SkyDrive is basically a big folder in the cloud that you can upload and download and everything else, and share documents with people and all that type of stuff. One of the other things that is cool about SkyDrive, and it's not unique to SkyDrive, you can do this with any document library on SharePoint. If you go to your context menu at the top, the library tab, and in the ribbon, you'll see Open with Explorer. If you click that, click, 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 come on. When you click that, it'll actually open this library in Windows Explorer. Now, that's not the same thing as SkyDrive because SkyDrive is an active sync, or I'm sorry, SkyDrive Pro is an active sync program. Of course, I need to add it to my trusted sites. In the perfect world, it would open up a folder just like this that would have all of the files in my SkyDrive. You'd be opening a live copy of it from your computer. So that's the other cool thing about it. But that's your SkyDrive, and it's a pretty essential function. It's like a flash drive in the cloud. And that's pretty much all I have on that, other than the drag, drop, and share, and sharing files with people and previewing them. I'll show you that really quick. If I go into my curriculum, which these are all some of the articles I've written for the site, I can preview the document right here and say, oh yeah, that's just the outline, the fast track. Here's the full curriculum outline. So you can see the document without having to actually open it and make sure it's the one you're looking for. So that's pretty much the rundown on SkyDrive. Be sure to check out the next lesson and see the rest of our videos. And other than that, have a good one.